thing you have to remember is there's a difference between getting old and growing older. And that's something I've held on to all the time. I am a lot, I've had more birthdays. So you'd say, yes, I'm older, but I haven't grown old. And our children have begun to realize that because they were worried about me doing things. But then they have begun to realize it doesn't matter how many years he's lived, he's still doing all these things and capable of it. And when I look in the mirror in the bathroom, I always wonder who that guy is in the bathroom with me, because he looks older than I am. And I'd say that image, your body believes what your mind conceives. So if you live and feel like a younger person, then your body believes it. But if you get to be an old timer, then your body acts like you're an old timer and has more trouble with things. So I don't see myself as any age. I don't tie myself into numbers. Yes, if people ask how old are you or when's your birthday, fine, here's a number. But that doesn't determine who I am. And relationships, there are a lot of reasons. People who have pets live longer, healthier lives. And it didn't even have to have pets. Keep relationships. In one nursing home, one side of the hall, everybody was given a plant in their room and told, we'll take care of it and water it and take it outside in the sun. The other side, they said, you have to take care of this plant. It's your responsibility. The people who had the plant lived 3 to 4 years longer on average than those who were having their room decorated. Yeah. And so women live longer than men because, of relationships. The guys, I can't work anymore. What's the point of living? And I've had men say that while they're sitting with their wife and children. There's no point in living, I can't work anymore. I said, look to your left. I think there are 4 good reasons. So keep up the relationships. You have something to offer people, and also your wisdom. My father-in-law lived to 98. Now that's another important point. I wanted him to live to be 100 and get him on television because he had injured his spinal cord in a fall. Despite all his disabilities, he was an incredible man with a sense of humor and loving. And when he got tired, though, he said, no dinner, no pills, thank you. So it's not hard to leave your body if you get tired of it. You turn off the switch, and it's not about feeling guilty. But I said to him, what advice do you have for old timers? I'm giving a lecture to seniors. He said, tell them to fall on something soft, because he fell down and injured his spinal cord. He got new eyeglasses, and it confused him, so he missed a step. A few days later, I was visiting him in the nursing home. He said, you know what I told you? Yeah. It doesn't always work. I said, what are you talking about? He said, they stood me up in therapy. I toppled over on my wife and broke her leg. So tell them to just fall up. And that's what I had carved on his headstone when he died. Because, that night he said, enough. I'm not having dinner. I'm not taking any more pills. Goodbye. And so we knew, and he died that night. And on his headstone, it says he just fell up, because that's how easy it was. He was ready, you go. But the big part is in letting your heart make up your mind is the best way of saying it. When you have choices, do what makes you happy. Right. Whether it's what am I eating, where am I going, what am I doing, what feels right. Right. Yeah. Don't do things for other people to make them happy. Do them to make yourself happy. And that's not about being selfish. It's what feels right. So don't forget also you can say no. That's something really important. That when the family says, whether it's your age, you shouldn't be doing it, you do what makes you happy.
That's right.
Yeah. And if you don't want to do something, you say no. And that,
didn't Elizabeth Kubler-Ross remind you to do that again?
oh,
and
all
again?
those things. My father, my mother, they would always answer me in that same way.
Yeah.
What should I do? Do what makes you happy. And difficulties were God's redirections. That used to drive me nuts as a kid. I had a horrible day. God is redirecting you. Something good will come of this. My mother's no help. But what I learned is from many famous people. Norman Vincent Peale's a friend. He said, oh, my mother used to say, Norman, if God slams one door, further down the corridor, another will be open. And I began to realize we were all growing up with therapeutic parents, that kept us going and doing and living and not shutting down because of what things happen.
So looking back, what would you do again and again and again as advice for someone 70 years old, navigating north into their 80s and 90s and God willing 100?
Don't live for other people. In other words, if you said, I'm moving to Florida, and the kid said, oh, we don't want you to go, we're going to... You want to go? Go. Or if your kid said, you should move to Florida, at your age, and you don't want to go, don't go. So say no to things that you don't want to do and ask for help when you need it.
There you go.
And give them permission to say no also, because then you're teaching them a lesson. Yeah. My father's father died when he was quite young, and he said it was one of the best things that ever happened to him. I couldn't believe it when I heard him say this to somebody. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, it taught me what was important about life. And he felt helping other people was what was important about life. And that rubbed off on me because it makes you feel good. And they all become family too. They're grateful to you for what you've done. And I'd say find ways to help other people. Whether you bake a cake or clean somebody's house, or it doesn't matter. Go shopping for them, but do it and you'll feel good. And the other is, if you need help, ask them to shop for you, or to come with you, or to carry things, whatever. I mean, but don't create a number and say, oh, when you're that age, look what happens. It has nothing to do with the number. It has to do with you and the message you give your body.
What about staying active?
Yes, I mean, that's why I say the message you give your body. I walk the dog, but I'm really walking myself, if you know what I mean. So I get a lot of exercise, and besides that, I do exercise, on equipment in the house, a stationary bike and some weights and different things. So build the exercise in. But it's also, like I work around the yard on the house. That's exercise too. Whether I'm mowing the lawn, raking leaves, or cutting branches, I'm doing something. And, it's as good as going to the gym for an hour if you're cutting branches and other, because it's a real workout. So keep doing, again, what makes you happy, and keep creating. One of the best things, if you never want to get old, and I mean this literally, do things that make you lose track of time.
Right. You taught me that.
Yeah, because I know the benefits that gives you. At one time, I had a bad back injury, and it was really hard to just stand up. But if I was in the operating room or painting a portrait, I noticed you don't have any trouble standing. There's no pain. And it really blew my mind that you get into this trance state where it's complete healing and nothing is bothering you.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So care for others, create. And as I say, find what makes you lose track of time. You could take music lessons. It doesn't matter how old you are. You want to learn how to play the piano, go ahead. Or take an art class. I like using my hands and painting. And it sustains you. Because I really believe that if you thought an hour was only 10 minutes, you're only 10 minutes older. And never lose your sense of humor, because that makes you younger. And if you get people to laugh, they appreciate you and treat you differently. Because one of the things I used to love saying when people would see my wife and I and how much we loved each other, just, when we were together, a lot of people would come over and say, how long you two been married? And I wondered, why are they asking, strangers? But I realized they're seeing something in us. And I loved saying, it doesn't matter the numbers, but I'd say, oh, we've been married, we've had 45 happy years of married life. And 45 out of 63 isn't too bad. And then they'd look at you like, what? The women would you mean man, But it made everybody laugh. So I'd say, keep that sense of humor. Oh, and my wife, family members, she was good at it. Because if I'd get angry in the house, I never forget her saying, you look so handsome when you're angry. And I would bust out smiling, and the anger was gone. So I'd say, don't forget that. Because if you get people to smile, they love you. And it's not about age or anything else.
I love that.
You've made them happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if people say to you, how are you doing today? Say, don't ask. I'm not going to go over my troubles. Next time you meet me, you're to say, you're looking wonderful today. And I do that. And it's great to walk into a store and have the clerk say, you're looking wonderful today. Because she heard me tell her, don't ask me how am I when I come in here. I don't want to relive all my troubles. And so the next time I come in, they see me, you're looking wonderful today. And the whole store laughs because they don't realize why she would say it. And I explain it to everybody.
Perfect.
And then everybody's happy thinking that.
Perfect.
So
that's great.
don't get older than your kids. Just be one of your own kids and live that way. You want me to read that poem?
We're going to do a poem now. Okay.
Right. This is called Warning by Jenny Joseph. When I am an old woman, I shall wear purple, with a red hat which doesn't go and doesn't suit me. And I shall spend my pension on brandy and summer gloves and satin sandals and say we've no money for butter. I shall sit down on the pavement when I'm tired and gobbled up samples in shops and press alarm bells and run my stick along the public railings and make up for the sobriety of my youth. I shall go out in my slippers in the rain and pick flowers at other people's gardens and learn to spit. You can wear terrible shirts and grow more fat and eat 3 pounds of sausages at a go, or only bread and pickle for a week, and hoard pens and pencils and beer mats and things in boxes. But now, we must have clothes that keep us dry, and pay our rent, and not swear in the street, and set a good example for the children. We must have friends to dinner and read the papers. But maybe I ought to practice a little now, so people who know me are not too shocked and surprised when suddenly I am old and start to wear purple. And so don't forget that. Happy birthday, dear. And make it a birthday, because it's an interesting, so that every year you rebirth yourself. And yes, there are labor pains of rebirthing yourself, but they're worth it. As one woman said, comparing some troubles in her life to a pregnancy, that 9 months pass, 12 months pass, I give birth to myself. All the discomfort and pain is now justified, because that's how she saw the 9 months to give birth to her daughter. So see your life as your birthday. And the other is, it doesn't stop. When you graduate, what do they call it?
A commencement.
A commencement. Now, what the hell? Whoever gave it that name? You're finished with school. Why don't they say, well, have a nice termination? Life is about commencements, about beginnings. It's not about endings, and I mean that. I won't get into near-death experience that I've had, but we don't die. Yeah, my book, No Endings, Only Beginnings, my latest book. You keep recycling, believe me. So the more you learn in this life and experience, the easier the future lives get too. This life and the next one you have. Because you'll know what to choose and what to do and what you can enjoy. But always let your heart make up your mind. That statement is always in my head. Whenever you have a decision, let your heart make up your mind. And two important things. This is about survivor behavior from a psychiatrist. He said, have a sense of meaning in your daily life and activity. Yes. Have some humor. And be able to ask friends and family for help when you need it. And when they ask you, if you don't want to do it, you say no. One of the most important questions, he said, determining survival of people with different illnesses was whether they were capable of saying no when they were asked to do a favor they didn't want to do.
Perfect.
And don't be normal. It's not healthy to be normal. You want to be special and different.
I love that. That's a great way to end a birthday wish. Happy birthday.
Happy, happy, happy birthday.